All right. This is my first time going live on YouTube. I have no idea if anyone will show or how this works, but I just wanted to jump on to give you guys some golden nuggets for Friday to jump into your weekend with some really cool, viable information. And so I am here to answer the question, why does everyone need a coach suddenly? Why does every business owner need a coach? Or why does it seem like everyone is hiring a coach? And why should you get a coach? So, my name is Claudia Garcia. I've been an entrepreneur for a gazillion years. Straight out of high school, had multiple jobs, and then always tried to make money on the side. Eventually, I ended up flipping some houses with my husband and owning a coffee shop, doing MLM, and trying all the things, even selling Avon to all of my mom's coworkers, nurses. Yeah, so I tried everything. Eventually, I ended up in healthcare. Yeah, really exciting stuff. Not really. There's nothing exciting about healthcare other than you do feel very satisfied knowing that you're making a positive impact on the life of patients. And although I am not a nurse or a doctor, the administrative work that I've put in to whether it's been helping providers, radiology groups, laboratories, different organizations by helping them get organized to create process, to that eventually right gave them the ability to offer better patient care. And so there was a way for me to have to leave an impact on the patients by helping the organization as a whole. Today, I am still in healthcare and still have the same business, which is really cool because most businesses go out of business within 5 years. And I actually started to do better and better throughout the years. I think I just got better at what I was offering. Also, I was really good at pivoting in my industry. So anytime the industry shifted, I shifted with it. And I was able to offer services that aligned with what was happening at that time. So I started in marketing. I started as a healthcare marketing company. My clients were specialists, and I would go out and introduce my doctors to referring providers or referring organizations or to the community. And then I ended up adding a second service, which was credentialing and contracting. For those of you that are not in healthcare, this is going to be totally boring stuff. But this process is the process of getting the providers into networks so they can see more patients and actually get paid for those services that they rendered. So we did that for many years. I had several employees. I hired everybody from, family members to church members to pretty much anyone that referred somebody like they need a job. I was like, okay, bring them over. It was a lot of fun. It was also my vision to have a business where I can offer people work. And that was just a big desire of mine forever. And so I was able to do that with the credentialing and contracting services and the marketing services. Eventually, I started to consult my physicians more on just daily, I guess, best practices. These are not things that are necessarily it wasn't like rocket science. I wasn't consulting on clinical items. I was only consulting on processes that would allow them to processes that needed to be improved in order for them to offer a better patient journey and have a better service, roll out a better service for their clients. So referring organizations and so on. So it was really about coming in and cleaning up their practice in order to help them make it run smoothly. And these things just kind of fell in my lap. So what would happen is I would get a client for either marketing or for credentialing and contracting. And then it would always be like, hey, can you help me with this or that? And sure, I can help you with that. And if I didn't have the answers, I always had connections and worked with other consultants in the industry that I can refer them to. So it was really important to also have a really big network. Then after that, so one of the biggest asks was for staff. Staff in recruitment became the third service that I added to my organization. So we currently have three things that we offer. And so the staffing and recruitment was a lot of fun because to me it's so transformative to put people, or I just wanted to be able to transform people's lives because by putting them in a dream job, right? So that's what I would do. I would go and headhunt, and it wasn't just me with recruiters, but we would headhunt and then bring those people into new jobs. And then we're still doing that. We staff mostly in Southern California, although I am now located in Texas, but we still are staffing predominantly for the private practice. It's just, we just get so much satisfaction out of helping people and changing their lives. All right. So fast forward, uh, not that long ago during the pandemic, everything shut down. I'm sure you guys remember that. I was still in California, and the only way that I would do sales in the past was I would attend networking events, or I would actually go out and visit the clients in person. At that time, I wasn't doing a whole lot of Zoom. We did have Zoom, but I just wasn't doing Zoom. I was boots on where they have boots on the ground, or in my car driving all the freeways, stuck in traffic to get, just doing the thing to get to my clients. And then when the pandemic hit, it was shortly after I had a baby. And so the only option for me was LinkedIn. And LinkedIn had already been a tool that was working for me for recruitment. So I decided I would do sales for my clients on LinkedIn. And I was able to generate, relationships that brought us in seven figures in revenue for our clients. And so I knew that LinkedIn was a powerful tool already because uh, I was using it for recruitment. And so if you're a recruiter, you definitely use LinkedIn, right? Especially for the executive roles. So again, back to the pandemic, it ended up being my favorite tool for sales. So I started doing networking all online. So it was just talking to people in the DMs. And the funniest thing is that I never posted. I don't think I had any posts during that time. I was always very afraid of how I would appear in a post. I don't know what it was. Like, I could post silly things on Instagram and just not care, like literally not care about Instagram, like messy hair, bun, no makeup. It didn't matter. I could show up on Instagram, kind of be myself, but not really worry. But when it came to LinkedIn, it was like, oh, am I dressed enough? Is my makeup okay? Is my hair okay? Like, to get on video, we're talking. And so I just wasn't going to do video. Like, that was not a thing for me. And then then it was posting. I decided, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to start posting. But how do I sound so professional that it just, it reaches my ideal audience? Physicians, leaders, decision makers, the big wigs, the real smart folks, right? How do I, because that's not normally how I am going to speak in person. I'm just going to be myself in person. And usually that works, right? People like you to be your authentic self, but it's just different, right? When you're posting online. So I had this fear of just not being able to relay my message properly in a post on LinkedIn. I don't know what it was. So I never posted. And then one day I started to notice there was a huge shift in the industry, and my clients were now asking for consultants, not as much direct hires. There was a lot of layoffs throughout different hospitals for the executive suite and the administration. So these folks were like now trying to start consulting. They wanted to consult or be what you call a fractional, like CMO or fractional, whatever your title is. And so this kind of became what was happening in the industry. And in fact, that this part of the industry, the consulting in healthcare, is still going to grow. I mean, you can Google it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they are, I believe that you can find them on my website, but they're going to continue to grow. So it's an industry that is actually, it took a little shift, right? So now hospitals are willing to bring in the experts to tell them how to do things, but they're not necessarily keeping that expert as a full-time employee. It is what it is, right? So I realized that there was this shift in the way that these executives were having to now consult, or that the consulting industry was getting bigger, I was like, wait, I'm a consultant. I've been consulting for, for over a decade. And That's sort of me, and I know what it's like to try to have to to chase business and to get business. And I also know how to get business on LinkedIn. So I've said to myself, hey, let me teach these folks how to get business on LinkedIn. And that's how that all started. The mentoring, the coaching, this channel to show you how to use LinkedIn properly. It all came from another, a shift during the pandemic when people needed to become entrepreneurs. Some of us choose to be entrepreneurs. I believe others are just, that's just the next step they take once they leave their job or their career. If they're my age, midlifer, then they may not want to go back to a 9 to 5, but they have plenty of expertise to be very helpful to anyone that hires them. And so this is an option for people who are even want to semi-retire, is to become a consultant of some sort. And then many are shifting into coaching, right? They want to coach others that are coming behind them. Maybe they want to be a career coach, or they want to become an educator. So they want to create workshops and they want to create different things for people. And that's the way we learn now. We learn in these little through micro courses and things like this, YouTube, being on YouTube and listening and watching, right? I watch YouTube every single day. I'm watching at least a 10-minute video on something great, right? That's teaching me something new. And so this is how we're learning. So this is, again, it's going back to tying it all back together, that we're in this space where there's this opportunity for those that want to now be consultants or coaches. um it's been a viable business for many years. I mean, Tony Robbins is a coach and he's been around forever, right? So coaching is not new, consulting is not new. It's just that now you have the opportunity to do it online and to get all of your clients online. So you really don't even have to leave the house. Although I do recommend going to conferences and networking in person, you really can get a handful of clients if that's all you need to make your 6 figures. You can do that on LinkedIn and using LinkedIn. So now that I explained to you how I got here and why I teach LinkedIn to the healthcare consultant and the healthcare coach, and you don't have to be in healthcare, because this is it's the same. It's sort of the same thing, right? It's going to be the same route, the same sales route, same process on LinkedIn for any industry. Okay, so, but what I do want to say is that what I'm seeing is there's a massive trend on LinkedIn of coaches and consultants that are promoting their products or their service, and they're doing a lot of things wrong. And I feel bad because I see it and I'm just like, ugh, like I understand that and you could tell they're experts, because if you dig a little deeper, you see their resume, you see what you see that they probably have an amazing product. But there's a few things that they do wrong. And number one is they create a program, and they name it some crazy name, like some name that nobody's going to Google, no one's going to search for. They come up with this fabuloso, fabulous name, and it's cute. Maybe they had ChatGPT come up with it. I don't know. But what I do know is that no one's going to search for it, and no one's going to search for you, because that program is not like, I don't know, like, let's just say flower nurses dynamics. Like, I don't know what that is, right? I don't know. It sounds cute. Well, it just made me feel happy when I thought about it. So I named my program that. Like, no, don't do that. Right. So we have these programs that people are creating and they are named these crazy things. And even when I've even noticed that those that even try to name their product based off of what they're selling, they still skip it. Right. So still not understanding a lot of framework products out there, but the framework to what and how and who, and is this for me? Is this not for me? There's just so much of that online. And so this is where the coaching comes in and the expertise comes in, and why I am a big cheerleader of coaches. I've hired coaches throughout my entire career. And when I've made leaps and bounds, it's been because of a coach. My very first coach was in recruitment. David Patterson, shout out. He's still doing amazing things for recruiters, still till this day. It was because of him, 10 years ago, whenever I started with recruitment, 7, 8, 10 years, the time is flying. I don't even know. But, anyways, because of him that I became a successful recruiter and I made a lot of money because he taught me something so valuable. I would have not learned it as quick as I did without him coaching me. Sure, I could have Googled it. Sure, I could have just learned from doing, which we do all the time. But it was because I hired a coach that I really went from A to Z super fast. Another thing is that another coach that we then hired, or I hired, it was an organizational core coach, Rick Martinez. He still is my mentor, and I still call him my coach, even though he's not on a retainer right now. But he also was very helpful in the way that. He made me look at things and scaling. I never thought about scaling until I met Rick. He had sold his own staffing agency, and I think that agency was like making like 56 million or something when he sold it. Don't quote me on that, but I know it was in the 50 million, something like that. So saying it wrong, Rick, sorry. But anyway, so he had this valuable thing under his belt that I needed, which was that experience of scaling an agency and then selling it, right? So there is that coach. And then I have other coaches. I've had amazing female coaches and spiritual coaches, and just coaching is just important. Now, I'm not trying to sell you anything right now. I'm just trying to tell you why some people right now that are on LinkedIn could benefit from a coach. It doesn't have to be me, it could be any coach. But a lot of times we want to start a business and we don't want to invest any money. And that is not how business works. So I want to give you an example. Now, I did start my business with very little capital. I mean, it didn't have a website. I didn't have employees when I first launched, but I did have my very first client with me. So I did have some money to use. Anyways, that's another story. But let me give you an example of what it looks like to invest in a business, okay? And launching a business. So back in the day, I don't know, it was 2005-ish. I think it was like 2005. I think I was like 27 years old, 28 years old. I bought a coffee shop. The coffee shop cost $65,000. That coffee shop came with an espresso machine, the coffee machines, refrigerators, shelving units. It came with the register. It came with the pastry case. It came with everything. All I had to do was open the door and have my own inventory supplies, right? My own coffee beans and things like that in order to run the business. Today, people are opening up these businesses, whether it's consulting or coaching or whatever it is that you're doing. You're opening up the business, but you don't have what it takes to actually run a business. You don't have the register in place, which is like your easy checkout systems. You don't have the espresso machine, which is maybe like your client journey, your client services, your the process to bring a client in and take them through and sustain them and all of that, and keep them coming back for more. You don't have anything but a shiny cute counter. And I wrote about this to my email list because I was like, people are trying to skip the most important thing, which is investing in your business and launching a business with things in place. So you're not selling coffee, so you don't need an espresso machine, but you're trying to change people's lives and you have no back end system to continuously service people properly. You are leaving leads on the table. Now, I'm speaking to the choir because for the longest time, I didn't even have an email list. I had tons of clients. I have serviced hundreds of physicians, and I didn't have an email list because I never put them on an email list. They were in my different platforms and things like that, but I didn't think to have an email list. To date, do you have an email list in place? Do you have, the whole back end in place? When you take them through a funnel, is the funnel offering them another product or more services? Whatever it is that you're doing, do you have an infrastructure that can support your business and um, can sustain a business, right? Because saying I'm a coach and I have a program, hey guys, sign up, is not enough. There is so much more to running a business. And I think that a lot of people will waste time and energy and think they're not wasting money, but they're going to waste money by coming out saying, I've launched this program, I've launched this product, and they have no system in place. No one wants to talk about that because they want to sell you the shiny objects and they want to tell you about how you're going to make all this money if they hire you, or if you hire them, sorry. But I'm trying to give some real solid advice to anyone that launches. You have to have an entire so when you're at work, let me take you guys back to the job. Remember, when you went to work, there was a system in place, right? There was the clocking in, there was the EMR or EHR, whatever platform you guys were on. There was the process of how you spoke to patients and clients and how you ordered things and how you got supplies and how you discharged, how you collected insurance information from the patient. There was a process. There also has to be a process in your consulting and in your coaching business. So, this is why I am a big cheerleader of hiring a coach or getting yourself a mentor, because you need to build these things out. You cannot just purchase the counter without the register and without the espresso machine. So if you were on it earlier and you just jumped on the live, but you cannot just uh, buy pieces and then try to put them all together and have missing pieces, right? Like a puzzle. It's just a big hot mess. You make it really hard on yourself. I know because I've done this. Sometimes I feel like I'm still there, and that's why I need a coach. And that's why I have coaches, right? So if you are trying to launch consulting and coaching, I highly recommend finding yourself a coach. And in a LinkedIn coach is great, but guess what? If you were hiring me as a coach to show you how to make sales and how to make money on LinkedIn, guess what? There's a process that needs to be put in place. And there are going to be things that you're going to have to put together on the back end in order for you to make things happen. Now, is it that complicated? Is it really that complicated to get business? No, it really isn't. And that's the thing, is that we complicate it by skipping really important things because we don't know. And a coach does know. A coach, you're going to hire somebody that's already done it, that's already been there. I suggest that when you consider hiring a coach, it's somebody that's been in the industry and doing what they're teaching you for at least a decade. Like, how long have you been at this game? Because I want to know your experience. And I hope that tell me about your failures, because I want to know that you failed, because that's how we learn. So, what do you know? I don't want a coach that goes into ChatGPT and pulls down a framework and then hands it to me. That's what you guys can end up with if you don't look for the right coaches. So, get somebody that's experienced, find somebody that's already been doing it. They don't have to necessarily have the same type of business that you have, because when it comes to a business coach and a business strategist, usually they know how to scale, they know how to do sales, they know how to create the systems that you need. So it doesn't necessarily have to be but when it comes to certain things in your business that you want to master, then you get those niche coaches, right? So I've had the business strategy coach, and then I've had, the recruitment coach, right? So it just depends on where you're at in your business, but I do recommend them. And I recommend that you you check how long they've been in business before you hire them. Don't just go off of the pretty pictures and the beautiful website. And find out, like, and also be ready to do the work. Don't hire people and then don't do the work. Don't buy workshops and courses and then not do the work. So if you're not going to put the work in, it it's just a big waste of money and time. And also, like, why have a business? If you're not going to put the time in to be better and to get better, then why have a business? Why start the business in the first place? Because then now you're just playing business. Now you're just pretending, right? So, and anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you guys. So, whether it's a LinkedIn coach, a recruitment coach, a career coach, maybe you're just trying to grow in your career, a career coach, maybe you need a business coach, just a general business coach that's going to help you scale. Highly suggest it. Um, don't skip the important stuff. And also, in today's world, the way we move all quick and fast and have 100 tabs open, you need accountability. So I am currently in a group where there's some accountability. I have a coach where there's some accountability. So if you're not accountable to anybody as an entrepreneur, then I guarantee you won't go very far. So I want you to go far. And so this is the advice that I would give. Hire a coach, get yourself a mentor, get yourself some training. But don't just try to do it. Don't just come up with a cool program, which your program could be totally amazing and transformative, but no one will understand if you give it a fluffy name. So stop naming your stuff, your programs fluffy crazy names. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope that you're following me on LinkedIn. If you do want some help with LinkedIn, I am more than happy to help you. You can actually do a strategy call, have a strategy call with me. My calendar, everything will be in the comments, but it's also on my LinkedIn. So if you would like to book a strategy call with me, I'd love to hang out with you and try to get you on track and get you from A to Z a lot faster than you would do it by yourself. So let's go. Let's do this thing called business and let's do it right. Talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is my first YouTube live. Well, it's actually not my first live. I've done it through Restream, but this is like my first going through the actual YouTube and not through Restream. So hopefully it comes out okay. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.